Hi, I'm Todd Rheingold, the hopeful aspirant. Welcome to another installment of I Got a Testimony. Last week, you met my friend Lisa Ferlita, and we had a great exchange and interview where she gave her testimony about how she grew up with dyslexia and how she overcame it and just recently received her PhD. Congratulations to her. I hope you really enjoyed her first testimony because she's got another one. Her second testimony has to do with her amazing 120-pound weight loss. We pick up from where we left off, however, on our last interview, where she talked about love. But first, I wanted to thank you for tuning in and to remind you that if you would like me to read your testimonies on the air, or if you would like to make your own video appearance, please indicate that when you send me an email at thehopefulaspirant@gmail.com. I'm really enjoying your emails thus far, and I look forward to getting to know you all much better as the weeks progress. Don't forget to check out my website, thehopefulaspirant.com, where you can download my book for $15.99. It's a 170-page manuscript. It details all the ups and downs of my spiritual life over the last 30 years, and I really think you'll enjoy it. There will be a link on my website to my YouTube channel. If you become a subscriber of my YouTube channel, you will get a special code that you can then use to download the book for just $9.99. Be sure to check out the merchandise on the website as well. All right, guys, let's get back into it. Let's all aspire to reach higher and stay inspired.
Todd, nothing stronger or more important in this world than the gift of love.
Mm.
So if we just focus on that for a little bit, and I think people can see that love really is all. I know that sounds kind of hokey, but I believe in it. I believe in love. I believe that we have trials and tribulations, but in the end, we learn from that and we pick ourselves up or seek some professional folks who can help guide us, especially in ministry, that can guide us on and put us back on the path.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's funny how I used to be when I was little. Growing up in New York, I always had a big mouth, and I've learned to be a lot more humble as I've gotten older. If you had asked me as a teenager to talk about love, if you asked me in my 20s, I would probably have given you a pretty standard pat answer. I come at it now, like you said, from a spiritual perspective. In terms of how I talk about love and how I see love, I used to think John Lennon was a little over the top, and Beatles and some of those love songs was like, oh, come on. But there's so much truth in it that it is the answer. Love is the answer. It's the only thing that conquers fear. And I'm all about that because of my anxiety that I struggle with. Anything that casts out fear, I'm all about it. And, I take classes, I listen to YouTube videos, motivational speeches, like anything that will encourage me. People tend to think that love is the opposite of hate, but the opposite of love is fear. Fear leads to hate. And one of the things that Jesus was very particular in teaching, it comes up over and over and over again. He says, be not afraid, do not fear, be not afraid. It's like the first thing he says before he heals somebody. Don't be afraid, because if you're in fear, I can't work with you. I'm coming at this thing through the Holy Spirit, which is the love of God that is acting through me as a force. I can't work this on you if you're in a state of fear. So you have to be, and if you think about it, when you've been in love, whether it's, loving feelings, it doesn't necessarily mean love for a human being, but a piece of music moves you. You're transported, a film or something. In that moment, nothing can hurt you. Your problems don't seem as bad now. You're able to deal with it. And that's what love does. When you're in a state of love, fear can't touch you. Unfortunately, when you're in a state of fear, love can't get to you either. You have to consciously make yourself available to love and make yourself open to it. So I'm glad that you referenced that, because I like that a lot. You went through a major transformation. You decided to really get your health under control. Give us the testimony about how you addressed the physical challenges and why you did.
Sure. Thanks again, Todd, for that. There was a health transformation that did occur. It was about 8 years ago. I was going through for work through an airport, and I was like, wow, who's breathing really heavy? Somebody's got some breathing issues. Well, come to find out, Todd, it was me. Breathing really heavy, pushing my little roller, trying to get to that gate and catch my plane. And I was like, this has got to stop. Morbid obesity runs in my family. My mother, my brother, cousins, aunts, uncles, etc. And, I was a woman's US size 22 at the time, weighed 264 pounds. And I was heading to go to Switzerland, which is a pretty healthy country. It's an island that it is, that people say. They do bicycling everywhere. And when I got there, I said to one of my customers, I'm like, well, you want to go to lunch today? And he goes, well, I don't know if there's a restaurant that you'd be satisfied in, because you Americans like eating hamburgers. And, so I was stereotyped, which is okay. And I said, no, I'll try some food. So I tried some food, and I went home that night after I just arrived, ate that dinner, and I was laying in bed. I go, gosh, I don't feel good. And I stood up and I looked at myself in my pajamas in front of a full face mirror. And I said, what are you doing? Why have you lost yourself? You wanted success. So I was making all this success, but I was forgetting about me.
Yeah.
Right. So I was traveling. The company has an expense. You go, you eat the food, you pay the company credit card. You get room service, right? You get room service. It's great. What are you going to have? Well, I'm not really going to have the steak and the potato, but what's your dessert stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I would eat my 3,000 calories at night.
Yeah.
And wake up in the morning and go to the executive lounge because, I had no life. I had all of these travel stages of awards, and I'd go to the executive lounge. All you can eat, you can throw up. It's like a tick, right? So I'm like, I could just eat, and then I'll just go to my meetings, and I'll skip let and I'll come back, and I'm like, okay, let me do that. Steak last night was really good, and I wanted to get a 16 ounce, so every night. So when I stood up in the mirror and I said to myself, what are you doing? This is not who you are. This is not who you should be. You will not live long. You're in your 40s. Your mother and your brother had heart attacks and they survived, but they were in their 40s as well. Why are you I kept saying to myself in the mirror, why are you letting your family history dictate who and what you look like? Okay. So I started slow. I said, okay, if we're going to do this, I'm not going to have surgery and I'm not going to go on a diet. I don't believe in diets. Diets, and I'm not going to be impressed by a paid actress or actor to go buy some sort of food. So I bought a bicycle and I biked 20 miles round trip in Switzerland for a year. Right. And it was hard, but it was the easiest thing I knew I could do as far as like joint pain, lessening the joint pain. So I did that. I incorporated more vegetables, less meat in my diet. And then I went to a fitness, and then I got on ellipticals. So I did this all progressive stuff, and I took 3 photos, like before and after photos, and 5 pounds, never weighed myself. It was all about, what do I look like? Okay. Now I'm in the same pajamas that are falling off me. Right. So I go from a 22 to a size US 18 to a size 16 to a size 14 to a size 10. So over a period of 5 years, I went from 264. Today I weigh 147.2.
It's great.
I'm only 5'3". So you can only imagine the weight that I had on me.
And the only reason you weigh in the 140s is because you got muscle now.
Yeah, because I have muscle mass. Yeah. So I went from like lifting little things till people were like, what do? I say I lift heavy stuff, I pick it up and I put it down. I wanted to do the journey. I wanted to know what worked for me. I did reach out to professionals and coaches. They tried the 6 meal a day thing. They tried carb cycling for me. That didn't work. And they kept saying, well, you need to do this and you need to look like this. And I'm like, no, I want to be the best me. And you've heard me say that. How do you become the best you?
Yeah.
I don't want to be on a bodybuilding stage. I don't want to be a fitness model. That will never happen anyway, but I don't want to have my goal is to be the best possible me. And I take photos. You see them on social media, and some people are like, wow, you take a lot of selfies of yourself getting ready. Well, I have to tell you, Todd, by taking photos continuously through my weight loss journey, it keeps myself accountable.
Yep.
It shares out. Guess what I'm doing today? I'm going to go lift stuff up, and I'm going to put things, and I'm going to go run, and I'm going to do my cardio. So it keeps me accountable.
Absolutely.
I still have body image issues. I don't see myself the size that I am today. I do track my calories. I do have my Apple Watch. I look at my fitness level to make sure I'm moving as much as I can. But the fitness journey for anybody is, how do I become the best myself? And I had to get brutally honest and say, you are morbidly obese. You don't need to go to a doctor for them to tell you that.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
You just need to recognize it in yourself. And if you don't know how to recognize it, or if you have underlying conditions, then yes, you have to go to a professional to understand the safest weight loss method that you have. I didn't want to be on medication. I didn't want to be restricted to a keto diet, the South Beach diet, the bippity boppity boo diet, whatever the fad was. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to understand what I can do to become the best I can. And I work on myself every day.
Well, that's
It's
it too.
a never-ending process, Todd.
I mean, that's it too. I mean, just those two testimonies you gave, are incredible. Just incredible. I have so much respect for that. And then because I know you too. So, I didn't know all the details. And it's the same thing with me. People who've known me from way back, they're like, yeah, Todd was always a little different. Yeah, he played sports, but he wasn't your typical sports guy. I had this group of friends, but I also hung out in other groups. I didn't stick to one crowd. I got bored with them. They got bored with me. People remember that about me. But in terms of me really going heavy into the spiritual stuff and speaking openly about my anxiety struggles, I don't think a lot of people knew that. I tell my son at 15, I say, look, I didn't talk about this at 15 because you'd be getting in a lot of fights. It's not something you don't wear your emotions and your insecurities on your sleeve when you're 15. It's not going to go well for you. People aren't mature enough to understand. But that's also why the majority of my friends in high school were women, because women tend to be a little more compassionate at that age than men. I think as you get older, it equals out, because I've had some amazing exchanges with men, starting in my 30s, but back then, no. So yeah, it's just amazing to hear your transformations, and I really appreciate you sharing that with us, because it is not easy for a lot of people to really open up, and I think it helps the viewers in particular to hear from you, because on the one hand, I can hear it and I can say, well, if you listen to what you said initially about overcoming dyslexia, you obviously have that type of spirit that you can do anything. It's easy for me to say that. It's easy for someone listening to say that. But when you're the one living it, it wasn't easy. Of course, you were able, I'm sure, when you made your mind up about losing the weight, you could pull on the fact that, hey, look, Lisa, you overcame the dyslexia, so you can do this. But it wasn't easy, and I appreciate that you said that. It's every day, guys. Like, whether your struggle is with weight, whether it's with dyslexia, whether it's with anxiety, whatever your issue is, you got to work on it every day. That doesn't mean obsess about it. It doesn't mean drive yourself crazy. But there's not a day that goes by, my son will tell you, there's not a day that goes by that I'm not listening to something encouraging, whether it's, Pandora Music, where I have a lot of different, I have an inspirational station, but I listen to that. I'll listen to commencement speeches. I'll listen to religious stuff, whatever it is. But there's not a day that goes by that I don't have some kind of self-improvement or motivational thing that I'm listening to, because I don't want to give my anxiety a nest to grow in. And, it's funny, people will say, for those who really do reject the notion of a higher power, I don't impose that on anybody, but I do think you need to believe in something that's bigger than you, because if you don't consciously serve something that's higher than you, you will serve something else. There is no way you can live this life and not be, pulled in. So you might as well make the conscious choice of what and who you want to serve. So as we start to wind down on this, I wanted to throw that out to you because I referenced the viewers. Is there something maybe I didn't touch on that you would like to touch on?
Well, the only thing I would want to tell you and the viewers is that there's different levels of struggle that people handle every day. Some people have a stronger threshold than others that we may not recognize and we don't know. So, be kind, have compassion. You never know what somebody else is walking through for the day. You never know what somebody to spew some vile things that you see on the media or the news. So just sit back and say to yourself, there must be more going on. And I think if we, including myself, can teach us to take a step back, take a deep breath, and recognize that regardless of who you may come in face to face with or who you hide behind in technology or social media, that person is still a human. That person still has feeling. Yep. So I would say let's show a lot more respect. Let's show much more respect, compassion. Let's treat each other as Christ-like as we can without running around in circles and pushing faith onto people. I think if you want that person to act a certain way, I think we ourselves, me in particular, need to act that way. So that's the first thing. And the second thing I wanted to tell you is that I am really humbled that I was able to share, story tell today of my life's journey. I celebrate my successes too, and I encourage people that every time they have a successful moment, take a moment and say thank you, celebrate it, share it, post it. Oh my gosh, I did this today. Share it with your family. So I think also as humans, we put ourselves down more than we say, hey, good job.
Absolutely.
Hey, you did that today.
Absolutely.
So remember your successes as well as try, as hard it is for us to be so detrimental on ourselves. Let's flip that around a little bit. Let's start celebrating our successes.
Absolutely. I think it's so important. I actually learned this in college. I kind of taught myself, and this is before I had my spiritual life, but it made a difference between me being real anxious or me being in a good place, is to give myself a reward like every day, just like we would do for a kid. If I had to write a paper, I've always been this way. I don't like having things hang over my head. So if I had a paper that was due in a week, I wouldn't write it that soon because somebody might bring it up in class and then it looks like I plagiarized them. But when in a 3 or 4 day window of it being due, I would go to the library and just crank it out. And I would sit there 9 hours and just do it. So all I had left was the conclusion and then the intro. But on nights like that, oh my God, when I would leave the library, I'd feel like $1 million. And I'd say, Todd, you need to do something for yourself. So I would say this before I'd go to the library. There would be a restaurant off campus, particularly at Dartmouth, because my other school, I was stuck, like it was different. But Dartmouth is right in the middle of the town. So you could walk into town and it had restaurants. And there was this one in particular I liked. And I'd say, okay, we're going to write this paper until, 8 o'clock tonight. And then we're going to go to that restaurant and eat and have dessert and everything. And, I think it's so important that we continue to do that. I think, like you said, we become adults, we take on all this responsibility, and then we wonder why life kind of sucks. And I think it's not because of what's out there that makes it suck. It's not the news. It's not the car you're driving, or it's you're not being good enough to yourself. Somebody once said, a spiritual teacher, I went on a retreat with her. It was actually Lindsay Wagner, actress who I always loved. But I went on a spiritual retreat with her and about 20 other people years ago, and she said, I want you guys to think about something. For those of you who have kids, you would do anything for your kids. You'd fight to the death for your kids. You wouldn't let anybody disrespect your child or treat them badly, differently than someone else. She goes, so why do you put up with that yourself? Why do you let people talk to you a certain way? Why do you accept a certain job that you don't like or you hate? You wouldn't want them to do that. And you wouldn't let your boss talk to your kid like that. And it really got to me, really spoke to me. Give yourself that time. I mean, if you want to do a bubble bath, if you want to have that cup of tea, if you want to watch that show, if you want to stay up a little later and maybe instead of cooking dinner, like I always as a single dad have to worry about dinner, there are times I'll say to my son, you know what? We're going to have soup and Hot Pockets because I want to be able to spend time with you. And if I worked on stuff all day, my writing or whatever, if I spend time cooking, then I'm not going to have time to spend with you, and then you're going to have to go to bed, and that's not what I want. So there are times where I will put a stake in the ground and say, no, I'm doing this because we might suffer nutritionally tonight, but I'll be able to spend time with him, and that matters to me. I mean, my hat's off to you because this corona thing, and I mean, I live in a cul-de-sac. My neighbors are across the street, but everybody's got their lives to lead. And I feel very, very lonely sometimes. And But having my kid here, it makes a difference, when he's not with his mom and he's with me. And I know that that can be rough. And I think it was very inspirational to hear you speak on that, and that how you get through those kinds of moments, because I'm sure they come. And see, I had it reversed. I thought you were in the Philippines and you couldn't come back to the States where your family was. I had it completely reversed. So that's far out.
Yeah, I came here. Yeah, I came here for 2 weeks from March 3rd to March 17th to a cancer care system here, actually in Salt Lake, Utah is where I'm at. Beautiful city. So I'm stuck on the Rocky View, which is Colorado Rocky, the Salt Lake City Rockies, which is okay. But I was supposed to be here for 10 days, and, we're going into April now, but, it's okay. I'm not alone.
That's awesome. Well,
it's amazing. Look at the silver linings that happen. Look at you and I. It's just such a beautiful thing. It really is a blessing.
It's amazing. I am very blessed. I mean, I tell myself whenever I start to feel that feeling of like, well, what about tomorrow? I say, but Todd, this is really how I end the book. I have a poem. The last page of my book is a poem. And it basically talks about the moment. For the audience, again, I try to mention it in every show. My spiritual memoirs, The Hopeful Aspirant, My Journey Until Now. If you were able to just freeze this moment and just realize that in this moment, you're not hungry, you're not tired, you're not failing, everything is perfect in this moment. Even a cancer patient that you have, in this moment where they're not in pain, where they're not distracted by the cancer, that moment is so precious. If you can recognize it and know that in that moment you are loved, you're cared for, you're healthy, you have friends, you have so much hope in that moment. And that's why all the religious texts talk about stay here, be present. Eckhart Tolle, the power of now. There is no past, there is no future. All that is right now, this moment. And when you can stay present, like animals do, they are happy because they don't think about the past and they don't worry about the future. So, I just think that you shared some great stuff. I want to give you another opportunity because we're going to finish now. And if there's anything else you want to share, I have a feeling that the audience is going to say, we want her back. We want to see her again. So, but if there's anything you want to share with these folks.
I'll be more than happy to. That's humbling. No, Todd, I think my sharing what I have not only is going to help your viewers, but it really puts some good perspective of the struggles and accomplishments and the deep faith that I have for moving forward in situations being separated from my family. So it helped me as well put things into a better perspective. So I can't thank you enough for having me here and letting me gave my testimony, and I gave 3 of them, I think. And thanks so much. It was really genuinely heartfelt from my side as well.
Well, it's my pleasure. And I'm going to have you stick around for a second after I turn this recording off, because I do want to talk to you about some other stuff personally. Sure. But to my audience out there, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Todd Rheingold, the Hopeful Aspirant. I got a testimony. Let's all aspire to reach higher and stay inspired. God bless.
Say you're like my son. You're an aspiring basketball player. You really want to get good at it, and you have the good fortune of being around a LeBron James, and he's willing to talk to you and work with you. And the whole time you're working with him, all you're saying is, "God, I just suck so bad. I don't know when I'm ever going to get better at this. My jump shot is terrible. I can never make anything from the foul line. Let's not even practice that. I'm just no good at that. Dribbling, I'm only good with my right hand. I can't dribble with my left at all." Even LeBron James is going to look at you and say, "Listen, I got better things to do than to waste my time on somebody who's not willing to learn, on somebody who's not appreciative of what I'm doing. I'm giving you my time. I could be working with any other kid out here, and I'm working with you. You should be happy that I'm here with you. Obviously, I'm LeBron James. I don't expect you to be on my level. You're a kid. You got a lot to learn. If I'm not complaining about how bad you are, then you shouldn't be. And, you know, granted, that's a basketball example. But in the same way, if you can appreciate that example about LeBron James, well, think about God. There is nothing he cannot do. He is all powerful, and he wants us to be happy and to live and to enjoy life. And if all we do, as he's trying to bless us, as he's making things happen in our lives, you know, he brings somebody special into your life, a friend, you know, a special mate, you know, spouse. You know, you go out to your mailbox and there's a check from your insurance company because of COVID, and they give you money back that you never expected. But instead of you really thanking God and just feeling so blessed in that moment, all you're going to do is say, oh, well, what's $100? I got $1,000 in bills. He doesn't want to work with that. That's you being ungrateful. He's not mad at you. It's just, why not thank him? Why not thank him for what's good? For the $100 that you didn't expect? For those that have kept their jobs during COVID and like their jobs. I mean, you're blessed. Start there. Start there. Don't talk about all the other stuff. I mean, if you have a sick parent, or God forbid, you know, you lost somebody, I'm not saying pretend it didn't happen, but don't ever stop thanking God. Don't ever stop being grateful, because that's when he shows up. That's when the miracles happen.